Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. It's presented to you by Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, and Munganess, St. Louis Acura. Timothy, Michael, McKernan, Jackson, Burkett with you on what is a Little Piddles Friday six-shooter day. These are always really special, I feel like.
They should be.
Nice.
Fun days.
You're over there. You seem like you're focused on buttons or something. That's my read. I don't know what the people are seeing on YouTube.
I arrived into the studio, about 15 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't get set. I couldn't get what I like to get done before the program.
What do you like to get done? Give the people a little behind the scenes, kind of like Full Swing.
Getting the mic levels right, getting the YouTube thing all set up, kind of getting my bearings. And I didn't have the time to do so today, so I was a little discombobulated on the front end, much like the Blues last night.
Oh! Segue all over me. Jackson. Did you watch the Blues and Devils?
No. I had a basketball game.
Did you get after that official again?
No, I promised. I said to my
Did you
teammates,
go up to him? Did you shake hands? Did you kiss him like Isaiah and Magic?
No, that did happen. And Chuck,
You did kiss him?
No, Magic and Isaiah. And Chuck Barkley kissed an official too after he raced him.
All right.
And mouth kissed him.
For him.
Shout out to Chuck.
Super hot.
No, I promised myself I would keep it tight-lipped.
Was it the same official?
Oh yeah, they're the same every week. And I didn't.
How was his officiating last night in your rec league game that we're leading with?
I called it travel, and
Called it travel on you.
It's a step through. Come on.
So you're still not happy. Did you give him a piece of your mind after the call?
Nope. I handed him the basketball.
Did you run your mouth at any of the opposition?
Nope. Well,
Did they run your mouth at you and say, nice play, Piddles, nice travel, Piddles?
No, one guy, I went up and got a foul call, and he was like, oh, he's straight up. And I wanted to say, what are you talking about? He fouled me. But you know what? They had made the call. I'm shooting free throws. I'm focused, baby.
Man, you're like the Barry Sanders of this rec league.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
Nice. Real nice. Jackson, they're not happy. About time, I think, is what Ryan Crawford was trying to say.
Like about time
that the show started.
Oh, well, sorry. I can't do much on that.
They like us to come in earlier? I don't know what to do.
Break into programming?
Yeah, I got another program I'm doing down the hall.
Yeah, come on now.
What do you want me to do?
Pretend like you don't know about it.
Yeah, act like you don't know.
Exactly.
Act like you don't listen to HD2 all the time.
No, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the extended highlights, and so I have a good idea.
Who had the hat trick for the Devils?
Come on. I can't. If someone on the Blues had a hat trick, I would know who it is. I don't know. I couldn't name you one New Jersey Devil.
But, I mean, this guy had 2 goals against the Blues in Game 1 of the 2019 Western Conference Finals.
They played the Sharks in the 2019 Western Conference Finals.
Oh, look at this. Peter Puck is back.
Is Joe Thornton still around?
Oh, boy. He's gotten away from us.
They had a guy with started with a K.
Zach Johnson, Shinnecock gif.
Zach Johnson had a hat trick last night?
Timo Meyer with the Hattie.
Timo Meyer.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I have some observations from what I saw in the extended highlights.
Wow.
Well, I'm trying to give my opinion.
I mean, if you're going to focus on the game, I want to call an audible.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I'll just say the only thing I'll say is Devils have a pretty solid sweater.
Oh.
Kind of goes underrated.
One of your sweater observations.
Yeah, it's good. It's pretty solid.
Well, they've had a nice run in that sweater. Here is the deal, Jackson. Jeremy Rutherford, 25 minutes ago, because we are now less than 4 hours away from the trade deadline, tweeted the following. All it takes is one phone call to change things, but the sense I'm getting is Buchnevich will remain with the Blues. If, in fact, that is the case, text in the Air Comfort Service text line, letting us know if that makes you happy or if that irritates you. And, of course, you can do the same in the YouTube chat. And the cameras for our studio here on 101 ESPN are sponsored by the Air Alliance team. Personally, I would like to see them make moves. Now, if they're like, no, we want him around for a while, but we plan on clearing out some salary, whether it be today or in the summer around draft time, okay, that's fine. But at this point, they're actually chasing VGK now because the Kings and Predators have picked up points. VGK lost last night, and the Blues are still 6 back of them, but 8 back of the Kings and the Predators. Either way, last night, particularly uninspiring I thought, I always talk about listening to Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale on the Curbside podcast every morning, and I was listening to that. A couple things stood out to me about that. Vitale talking about how they just haven't looked like the same team since that winning streak. That's why, God, I go back to that loss to Columbus before the All-Star break. Not that it matters, but like in other words, not that it matters in the sense that had they won that game, they'd be on their way to the Chalice. But just in general, I felt like that really halted momentum in that 5-game streak against a bad team. That sucked.
It was almost a signal.
And then, ever since they've come back, he's just like, it's just not the same team. And it's, he said even the win against the Flyers, they were fortunate to get that one. So with that said, there isn't a whole lot of hope. And I thought what Chris Kerber made an observation on, because I think so much of the Blues situation is, do you mind if I say two-pronged?
I like when people break things up like that.
By prongs.
Prongs, Roman numerals, bullet points.
Okay.
I like that. It's easy. I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual learner.
Okay. Prong one, long-term contracts for defensemen who are not providing return.
Yeah.
That's prong one, and then you kind of go, boy, I'd love for them to be competitive next year, but what can they really do that much to change from this year to next year? And unless just young guys mature at a rapid rate. And then secondarily, the Jordan Kyrou situation, which some recognize as a really big problem, and some view as, oh, he's young, he'll mature, he'll be fine, you don't want to risk trading him away. Either way, number one, missing the empty net, sweet mother of mercy. But number two, what Chris Kerber said afterwards, he goes, it's at a point now with how often he turns over the puck in an empty net situation, and the famous one from this season was the night Craig Berube was fired against the Red Wings, that even though he certainly is a guy who can get you a goal at any time, of course, but that because of that risk being so high, it's almost at a point now where you don't want him out there. Yeah. And I'm like, man, you have both Jeremy Rutherford and now Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale making these observations on him and also the play in general of the team. That's pretty damning. That's pretty damning. And I suppose I'm making the observation because in doing this stuff now for 25 years, when you have that kind of commentary coming along from people who are closer to the organization than, say, what would you call me, a clown? A clown like me, who just comes in here and does an hour, that carries more weight. And I think it speaks to there being more than just them making that observation. That's my read. I could be wrong. I want to make that clear. But that's why when I sit there and I think about that, I go, well, then let's make some moves. But you also don't just make a move just to make a move, because you can still make moves in the off season. So while I'd like to see it, Jeremy Rutherford's read is, as he said, all it takes is one phone call to change things. But the sense I'm getting is Buchnevich will remain with the Blues. So we have 3 hours and 49 minutes to find that out, Jackson.
Yeah, and for those listening to 101 throughout the day, Doug Armstrong's press conference at 2:30 will be carried live.
Nice, outstanding.
Yeah.
You might be live streaming that.
Yeah, Jeremy Rutherford yesterday, Tim, wrote an article in The Athletic with the headline, if they do end up trading Buchnevich, this is no longer a retool and a rebuild. What are your thoughts on that?
I enjoyed the column. I really appreciate, it's kind of the way things have gone with both the Blues and Missouri. Mm-hmm. And this is more of a commentary on the state of media than it is anybody else. And I'm being dead serious about that. I'd like to think people know that. I'm not going to sharpshoot passive-aggressively media or subtweet people. It's just the way that things have worked with media, that Jeremy Rutherford at this point is kind of the guy when it comes to Blues coverage in the market. Just like Gabe DeArmond is with Dave Matter stepping down at the Post-Dispatch, the guy. And that's not a shot at the guys who replace him. It's just a lot of credibility comes with tenure.
Yeah.
So these guys have that tenure. Derek Gould has that tenure, but you also have other people covering the Cardinals who have, my point being, in Jeremy's case and in Gabe's case, they're kind of the guys for those respective teams. So why do I bring that up? I like the fact that he is the guy, and then he's flying. He did just fly to the New York area to go to that Devils game, and he'll be around the team today for the press conference, and then the Rangers game, I guess. I don't know, maybe he's flying back before the Rangers game at the Garden. But either way, he's there. So it's not like he's like riding this and lobbing grenades from afar.
Right.
He's flying into it, and he's I don't like call out mode because, he can credibly observe. Whereas, and it's not to say those who are observing negatively don't have the credibility. It's just he is there, and he's been doing it for a couple of decades, and that's just a different kind of situation. So that's not a shot at anyone. I want to make that clear. It's more of a compliment to JR.
Yeah.
And with that all said, I don't know if it really matters if it's a retool or a rebuild. You can call it whatever you want. What's factual is I don't think this team is really realistically going to be competing next year. And that is, in part, the fault of Doug Armstrong, because you have contracts that lock them into players who aren't going to give you return. And that is something you're stuck with, and therefore you're stuck with the cap. And so the realistic, unfortunate situation for the Blues is they're not looking toward 2025. And they might not even be looking toward 26. And I know people don't want to hear this. This is going to be unpopular. But guess what, Jackson? I decided not to run for office.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So therefore, if you're looking for somebody to come by and gently graze up against your zipper, you're in the wrong spot. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, hey, I'm not going to touch your zipper. And therefore, here's the deal. This team's probably not going to be competitive until a bunch of these contracts are gone and they are stuck. So therefore, if that's the case, get some players who you're targeting a couple years from now. And now, can the organization say that? I loved Doug Armstrong's blunt assessment of the team in mid-October, but then 2 months later, he fired the head coach. I think we can now say it wasn't Craig Berube, unless you just want to pin it all on the power play and the significant improvement there. But this is not a team 5-on-5 that can afford to fall behind 2-0. They just don't have the talent. And so, last night they started off with Buchnevich on the second line, and then the second period when they got their push, they moved him back to the first line, and that's when they got things going. Point being, it's just they're not a player away. And so this is going to be a process. But the Blues are not a large market team, say like the Blackhawks, who could afford to go into tank mode and get Connor Bedard magically, win the lottery. So I don't know how they're going to handle this, but it's not like you go, okay, well, we'll see what happens next year. If I think they tried to kind of turn the page toward a rebuild, but Torrey Krug wouldn't go. And then they're kind of like, okay, well, then I guess if we're in this spot, then let's see what we can do and see if some of these young players develop, all while we know we're stuck with some aging veteran defensive contracts and defenseman contracts, and there's not much we can do about it. So that's why I would like to see them start to turn the page more aggressively. That is why I'm an advocate of selling, even though I'm not anti-Buchnevich by any means. I'm just saying this thing isn't close. And if anything, the reason why they were even in the position of getting a sweat for the playoffs was the play of Jordan Binnington. And that can only carry you so far. Your thoughts, 314-399-9646. And you can also talk it over in the YouTube chat. That's the Balloon Party Mafia in there, and they're very active, and it's wonderful to see. They're just not happy with the start time of the show. And Jackson would like to apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's on me. I'll be better when I look in the mirror.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to become a meat and potatoes guy.
Can't be. No. You were born a nobleman. You will die a nobleman.
Yeah, I can still taste a silver spoon in my mouth.
Yep, there it is. Your thoughts on that? 314-399-9646. Jackson's got the little piddle six-shooter for you here on a Friday. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton, Toyota. Welcome back. This is Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. My name is Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett, and this program welcomes you to participate in the conversation on the Blues trade deadline day. And we do have a trade report, but I want to make it clear before I even read it that it isn't going to excite you one way or the other. The Blues have traded goaltender Malcolm Subban to Columbus Blue Jackets for future considerations. So there's that, Jackson. I know you wanted to break that down.
Yeah, you're giving up certainly some value there. Ceiling's pretty high in a guy like that, but you have no idea where the floor is. Yes. So it's a move you make. It's a real hockey trade, and
as opposed to,
just kind of like a back against the wall kind of move that some teams will make. That's not what the Blues are doing here. I think this is proactive, and I think in a couple of years you're going to look back at this moment and say, "Wow, that's a real watershed moment in Blues history."
The trade of minor league netminder Malcolm Subban is a watershed moment.
Well, I think it has the opportunity to be. And if it doesn't work out, Army's going to have to answer to that.
If Malcolm Subban goes on to become...
Henrik Lundqvist or something.
A Jack Adams winner.
Jack Adams. Is that like best goalie in the league? Why can't we just what's up with the naming? What's wrong with just saying what the award is? I
set you up, and you kind of played along, but...
Well, I'm trying here, but so there's the Conn Smythe.
Jack Adams is the coach of the year. Vezina is the netminder.
Got it.
So, for example, in 2019, Bruins goaltender Patrick Waugh was up for the Vezina.
Right, and then there's the Bing Crosby Award.
That's correct.
For the nicest guy.
For the best clam bake.
What's the nicest guy award?
Lady Bing.
Lady Bing.
I think you'd be Lady Bing all day.
Nice.
I really do.
Who's Lady Bing?
A wonderful royal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm used to MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year.
This is where you passive aggressively or just aggressively attack ice hockey on the station that carries your St. Louis Blues. Pre-game tomorrow from the Garden at 5:30.
Well, I'm trying. I'm making observations every damn game. And the Devils, they looked pretty good on the power play. You know why? Spread out. They spread out, and they scored.
So you think they looked at your whiteboard from earlier this week?
Clearly the Blues didn't, because they looked discombobulated. Also, Jordan Kyrou is really fast. He should focus on just doing things where he can show off his speed.
What about scoring on empty nets?
Don't give him the puck.
Don't give the man the puck.
If Hofer or Benner come out of the net, so then JR or
then Kyrou goes back and plays goalie. Is that now the suggestion today? Where's the whiteboard for that one? Here's 25.
No, he should be taken off the ice or
Puck's
just
in the Devil zone. Okay, this is the time for Binnington to skate up, and Kyrou drops back into net.
Well, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard, but I just wouldn't give him the puck or use him. Do they use decoys in hockey? Use him as a decoy,
like Pippen in Game 7 against the Pistons.
Like everyone thinks the puck's going to him because $8 million a year, but then you just don't give it to him because he turns it over.
Once he starts playing goal, I think that's going to maybe alert scouts.
Kind of goes against my thing about him using his speed, because there was one time where he flew up the boards, and I was like, oh my God, I've never seen a human being skate that fast. Of course, he didn't score, but...
And your sample size of watching Blues players skate is also relatively small.
I don't know about that. Like you said, relatively.
Right.
Like compared to JR, sure, but, your average Tom, Dick, or Harry.
That's you.
I think I'm right up there.
Jackson, you don't happen to have a second question here on this Little Piddles Friday six-shooter?
I sure do, Tim. I want to gauge St. Louis sports interest in the Redbirds this season. Do you think people are generally excited for the season? What percent would you say is optimistic versus pessimistic? And where do you think both John Mozeliak and Ali Marmol's approval ratings are at right now?
Oh, so many questions. Let's itemize them here. Otherwise, I'm incredibly talented, and I don't know if it's just gift or what, but I think that's indisputable. But I can only handle so many questions at once, so let's go one by one.
All right, so do you think people are generally excited?
They're excited for baseball season, in part because it means warm weather. They enjoy going to the game. I think as far as the team, I don't think too many Cardinal fans really believe that this is a world championship team.
Yeah. But when do you think was the last time that people thought, okay, this team.
I think just 2 years ago, people were really high on the team.
Yeah.
I think there was some enthusiasm on both the team and Albert Pujols coming back.
Sure.
And it being Molina's last year. And having Goldschmidt and Arenado.
Yeah.
So I think that it wasn't that long ago. I think this year people think there's a good chance they'll win the Central, but they don't think that they're necessarily a great team. And unfortunately, the first few weeks of spring training probably haven't inspired skeptics, considering both the injuries and to date performances.
All right. Very fair. The next question I had was, what % would you say is optimistic versus pessimistic?
I want to break it down to 101 ESPN listeners and TMA listeners, as opposed to like the average fan who, may spend 7 minutes on their feet for Aaron Miles' first at bat back at Busch Stadium. Optimistic in terms of World Championship, optimistic in terms of competing with the Braves and the Dodgers for the best record in the National League, optimistic in terms of the National League Central. I just have an obligation to the audience and really myself and my family to get a specific definition of optimistic and what it pertains to.
Okay, so let's use the Vegas odds for their win total. Let's say 84.5. So let's say optimists think over, pessimists think under. I think that is... If you think that they're going to win more than 84.5 games, you are optimistic about the Cardinals this season.
Yeah, I guess you could use that as a definition. I guess I would be more comfortable going. Do you think it's a 90-win team? Because then you're kind of like bullish,
Yeah, that would be. Are you
going to accept that? These are your questions. It's your 6-shooter.
I know.
I feel like
that would be like to me like.
I don't know if I have the gravitas to change the 6-shooter.
You have gravitas pouring out of your ears, Tim.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, at least in my book. Yeah, we can say, that's fine.
What percentage of 101 ESPN and TMA listeners think this is a 90-win team?
I would say 15%.
I was going to say 12%.
Yeah, 15%.
All right, so we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. If we were doing the original parameters of over 84.5, you might get up into 30%. Yeah, 35.
I might go a little higher, but either way, we're in the same range. All right, what's your next question on this? It's also all-encompassing.
The approval ratings at the moment for John Mozeliak and Ali Marmol and how they've kind of trended during their tenures.
Okay, again, I'm going to go specific because there's a difference between, the standing ovation for a ground ball to the right side of the infield group and 101 ESPN listeners and TMA listeners. John Mozeliak approval rating 22.5%.
I'll take the under on that.
And Ali Marmol approval rating 33%.
Oh, all right. I'm under on both.
All right.
I think people are 20% on each.
Yeah, I think that there's you can get caught up in social media representation. I just don't think it's as low. If you wanted to get into politics, which we shan't, we can sometimes on the Tim McKernan Show podcast, but not here or on TMA. But one may be surprised, take your pick of whichever of the current or previous president, like, oh my God, 35%. Who are the 35% that are approving? Take your pick. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, there are though.
Yeah.
I mean, they do exist. So even though they're not necessarily the ones who are going to be vocal.
Yeah. No, I get that totally.
And by the way, I may be wrong.
The detractors are usually the loudest.
Sure.
People who are in support or generally indifferent on what they've both done in their tenure probably aren't going to social media or going to be banging down the doors.
I will be specific. I completely understand the criticism on Mozeliak, but again, he doesn't run the organization.
Right. He hasn't signed the checks.
And if he is told this is what the budget is and we have to stick to this, then that's the deal. Now, Bill DeWitt is not the one scouting players.
Right.
So, there is some overlap there. With regard to Ali Marmol, I mean, here's a guy that was 17 months ago being talked about for manager of the year.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, for example, I don't think Eli Drinkwitz has hung the sun, moon, and stars because of a good season.
Right.
Just like following the 2022 season, I'm like, I don't think you fire him. I think you could see there was progress. Oli Marmol's resume is still small. I mean, so if you're going to be mad at Mozeliak or DeWitt for the roster construction, then I don't necessarily know how then you can blame Oli Marmol for not managing that roster that you acknowledge isn't very good to a successful campaign. You see what I'm saying?
Totally.
So I get that it's, in a time of people either broadcasting or writing for likes, that's certainly going to get a lot of approval. Just criticize. But this is my assessment, and I don't think that was necessarily Oli Marmol. Whoever you may think is the best manager, I feel like somehow Mike Schilt has this posthumous canonization amongst some Cardinal fans. And I'm not saying I was anti-Mike Schilt. I'm just like, it wasn't like that was Joe Torre with the Yankees.
Right.
But even Joe Torre with the Yankees would probably go, a lot of people probably could have managed this Yankees team to some world championships.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Like, who wins games as a manager with a crappy roster? And don't get me wrong, there would be some time. Like, I think Ron Washington, for example, cost the Rangers the World Series that the Cardinals won in 2011. So with that all established, to me, more needs to be on the ownership and the front office for the recent debacles with the Cardinal roster moves. That's where I would put it. And that's not to say that I'm like, Oli Marmol is going to be great. I just don't. He had a bad roster. But I mean, we caught hell for it, I guess, in some places. Some people were on board. When a week into the season, the guy they had kind of surprisingly named starting center fielder, Tyler O'Neill, in his effort was called out publicly and specifically. And I'm like, take your pick of whatever business. But if you dress down one of your players in their effort, that's a different deal publicly, especially right after you named him a starter early in the season. That is not going to play well in the room. And the room doesn't have to be professional baseball players. It can be a room at Enterprise Leasing, That ain't going to play well. And I saw that and I go, that isn't something that, not that Tony La Russa is the end-all be-all, but that just isn't the way that he operated.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's therefore it's right, because Tony La Russa would be the first one to say he had much better rosters than Oli Marmol had last year. I think Cardinal, bottom line is this, Jackson. I think Cardinal fans are so irritated that it's just anybody who's not a player is to blame, and therefore I disapprove. And then if you're going to try to dig into why they are where they are, I think a lot of it has to do with the front office and not the manager. And that's, again, not to say the manager is great. It's just, I don't know how you can say, well, the roster's terrible, and that's on Mozeliak, or that's on DeWitt. Okay, fine. But Marmol. And I'm going, well, if the roster's terrible, then take your pick of whoever. Bruce Bochy. Could Bruce Bochy have made that a playoff team last year? Right. I mean, if you honestly believe it, then God bless. But I'll present him as an example of a guy who went to the playoffs with the Padres and World Series with the Giants and now World Series with the Rangers. Could Bruce Bochy have made that a playoff team last year and done damage? Personally, I don't think so. If you give manager that much credit, holy crap, what do you give Shohei Ohtani? Is he worth 30 games if Bochy's worth 15? I think we're just kind of like making crap up to say stuff, and I'm just not down with that. 10:34 in St. Louis. We'll take a break. It's Balloon Party. James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. He is my insurance agent, and I would love for him to become your insurance agent as well. 360 five-star reviews for James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Let me read one right here. James and his team are knowledgeable and pay attention to detail. They immediately gave us safe driver discounts and other cost savings that our previous agent never mentioned. When our 16-year-old earned his driving license, sat down with him to make sure he understood all the rules of the road and potential pitfalls. They are impressive. Take the time to make an appointment. You will not be disappointed. That was left by Bob Holshin on the James Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency Google page, along with 359 other five-star reviews for the service they provide. There is a difference, and that difference is with James Carlton and his team at the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Online at carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800, or go online at carltoninsurance.net. If your insurance costs a leg and an arm, call James Carlton State Farm.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues lose last evening to the New Jersey Devils, final score of 4-1. The Blues take on the Rangers next tomorrow night. You can catch that game right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. Pregame at 5:30, puck drop at 6:30, and Blues GM Doug Armstrong will have his press conference following the trade deadline at 2:30. You can catch that live right here on 101 ESPN. And last night, the Timberwolves defeat the Pacers 113-111. Anthony Edwards with a game-saving block where he hits his head on the backboard, also 44 points. That was our Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back. This is Balloon Party. It's 101 ESPN. My name is Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. We have 2 more segments of broadcasting excellence left for you, and then we're going to retire to our chambers for Saturday and Sunday, and then try to come back and see what's doing on Monday, and maybe there'll be a big trade between now and 2 p.m., but to date, it's just Malcolm Subban going to the Columbus Blue Jackets as we monitor the NHL trade deadline. Oh, how about this? Friend of the program. What a moment. This will be awkward. Patty Maroon, who skated by the Bruins bench in Game 2 and expressed a sentiment that they were so effed, will join those Boston Bruins. He is headed from the Bruins, from the Wild to the Bruins.
Oh, wow.
Patty Maroon.
Big rig.
Yeah.
In Beantown.
Maybe he'll get himself another chalice.
That'd be nice.
They weren't going to give him with the Wild.
That would make it, if he wins with the Bruins, that'd be 5 Stanley Cups.
Got one in St. Louis.
Yeah. Was it 2 or 3 in Tampa?
2.
2. Okay, so 4. That's
So
not
he
bad.
Gave himself 4 chalices with 3 teams.
That's not
I wonder
bad.
how many guys have that.
Oh, boy.
I know I'm not asking the right person, but at the same time, I don't even know if you know.
Oh, in the league?
In the history of the game.
Hockey, right? Yeah.
No.
Well, I'm trying to think of like anybody who's won 3 or more than 1 title with 3 different teams. I'm trying to think of like anyone across sports. I'm going
to type it in. I'm going to let you vamp for a little bit.
I think I can get it. Danny Green won 2, like Spurs and Lakers. Pat McCaw, Raptors, Warriors. Shaq, Heat, Lakers.
Boy, I stopped paying attention and immediately somehow it goes into the NBA. Here is a list of all 11 players who have won the Stanley Cup with 3 or more teams. Al Arbor.
I think I've heard that name before. Yeah. Pretty confident in that one.
Do you know if he has a tie-in to St. Louis or not?
Yeah, he played.
Oh my gosh,
he played for the Blues. Definitely didn't win a chalice with the Blues. Can tell you that much.
Look at you.
Yeah. So definitely not with the Blues, but with 3 other teams.
And coached for the Blues.
Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. But Al Arbor would be one. As Patty Maroon attempts to join this. Let's see if there's any other. Claude Lemieux, L'Habitant, Devils, and then the Avalanche.
Of course.
Now, when you say of course right there, I got a sense that it wasn't really.
Well, it's just, fill in the air. That's the Balloon Party DBA filling the air.
Joe Nieuwendyk. You got any?
That's a new one.
Flames 89, Stars 99, Devils 03. Mark Gracke. Penguins, Hurricanes, Bruins 2011. Mike Keane. L'Habitant, Avs, Stars 99. A lot of these guys were on the Stars. Yeah, and the rest would be more in the old timer, unless, Jackson, you remember Jack Marshall's work with the Winnipeg Victorias, the Montreal AAA team.
What, they name like best helmet after him, and that's the award you get?
All I do is I read, and it seemed like right there you took a snipe at ice hockey. Montreal Wanderers, and then the Victoria Cougars.
Victoria Cougars?
The Toronto Blue Shirts. Blue Shirts. Always goes back to Blue Shirts. And Hap Holmes got one with the Blue Shirts, too, and he got one with the Seattle. There was a team in Seattle in 1917? I mean, boy, that...
1917?
I mean...
During the First World War?
What in the world? That had to be... Boy, if you were playing like for the Rangers, and we got a quick stop in Seattle, and then we'll head back.
Total brain fart on my part. Braun won 3 with 3 teams.
Well, that was the NBA, of course.
4 titles total. 3 different teams.
But that isn't what we were talking about.
Right, but just across sports, it's a pretty rare feat. Danny Green also. I mentioned him, but I forgot he won one with the Raptors.
Well, either way, Patty Maroon might get himself another one with a third team, and he would join an elite class that includes Hap Holmes. Jackson, do you have another question for this Friday six-shooter?
Sure.
Where you two caught up in who's won 3 NBA championships with 3 different NBA teams?
Big Shot Bob, also, Robert Horry.
Robert Horry, yeah.
Yeah, and then John Sally. Yeah. We discussed yesterday on TMA with the great real estate agent Jeff Lotman about building versus buying homes. I think this question can apply to sports. Sometimes you have the options to build your team,
Nice.
and then you also have the options to buy your team. The Diamondbacks are an example of building, while the Mets did some buying. What are some of the factors you have to consider when looking at the situation? Have the Cardinals done a hybrid model as of recently? And in the future, do you think there will be, the Cardinals, per se, will be more builders or buyers?
Builders.
Okay. Same goes with the Blues. I'll ask the same question with the Blues.
But I think you kind of have to be.
Yeah. Is there a lot of small market teams, smaller market teams?
I mean, I felt like we saw a really weird situation, and now seeing what wound up happening with the owner passing away, and he knew he had a health diagnosis, so I think that probably was the motivation in San Diego, where there was even concern from Rob Manfred, voiced by San Diego, they're going, what are they doing? And then they had to take out a loan to make payroll at the end of the year. I mean, holy crap. So you have to have that. And maybe that's why I'm such a big advocate of both the Blues and where I was last July with the Cardinals, of just sell, 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 sell. And I guess it's not something that's usually a popular perspective to offer up if you do what I do for a living, because the fans don't want to concede, or not all, but a good portion of fans don't want to concede, or they don't want to think, okay, we're playing for 2026 or 2027. But that's your reality. And I don't really know what they can, talking about the Blues now, what they can really do about it. I think the Cardinals probably, because there's no cap, absolutely could have taken themselves from a middle of the pack projection this year to a top line projection, not up there with the Dodgers or Braves, but still a 90-win projection, by handling the offseason differently. But at the same time, as I said throughout the course of the offseason, I get what I think they're doing. Yeah. Even though I think it would be, let me put it this way, and I could be off the mark, but if the Blues had what I think the Cardinals have, which is a real question mark as far as a huge percentage of their revenue, and that's what the Cardinals have with the television situation, and the Blues certainly have question marks too. NBA teams have it as well with these regional sports networks. I just get the sense that they would talk about it, but maybe I'm off the mark, and I think fans appreciate that. Now, some Cardinal fans would still go, it doesn't matter, you have 3 million fans coming through, so who cares? Or you're a billionaire, so lose money, I don't care, you know? And that's fine, but you kind of just go, okay, that's fine. That's what I do. I just kind of, okay, all right, thanks, good, you know, dog avatars. But with this, I just feel like I just think if the Cardinals just could have a transparent, we're not talking down to you approach, it would do so much for the organization as a whole. I just don't feel like they necessarily have anybody speaking on a regular basis doing that. I think Bill DeWitt III can do that and does it, but he isn't necessarily omnipresent. And I think they also just choose to, you know, try to handle these things and not vocalize the concern, but I think it's why they approached it the way they did. Point being that if the Cardinals would have also signed Montgomery and maybe didn't sign Lynn or Gibson and then had another guy who's kind of like a Michael Wacha, for example, I think people would have a different perspective on this. Instead, they see guys getting injured in March and going, well, I mean, they're older. What else? I mean, or Kyle Gibson got rocked yesterday. I mean, he wasn't going to be a Cy Young guy. You got innings eaters. You're just trying to survive. And that irritates people. At the same time, this year, I understand it. All right, 10:48, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. Take our final break, come back for the final segment of Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Welcome back. Final segment of Bloom Party for the week. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. Jackson's got this Little Piddles Friday six-shooter that has really got a lot of momentum right now. Jackson, what do we have going on?
The renderings have been released of the Las Vegas Stadium idea on the strip that the A's might play on. I'm not sure. First, what did you think of the renderings? And second, what are some of your favorite ballparks you've been to, and what makes a park special to you?
I got to tell you.
Yeah.
And this comes from a good place.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about this.
Not on this presentation.
Okay.
On TMA.
Okay, that's the issue. So many shows.
Yeah, it's all interweaving.
But I love the renderings. I don't know how real they are. I still think it's going to be anarchy. I know this goes into Las Vegas specific traffic patterns, and I don't know if that's talked about a lot in St. Louis.
Not enough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But for those of you who have spent some time in Las Vegas and you know where that thing's going to be built, which is just to the south of Mandalay Bay, kind of just across from, just to the south of MGM and just to the east of Mandalay Bay, it's already brutal getting around there on the strip. And so when I'm out there, and it's not like I'm out there as much as I used to be playing poker, and I'm just BSing with drivers or people who live there, just like, this is going to be hell. For people
only imagine,
like in that area. I mean, the strip's huge, so it's not like but still, it can have a domino effect down all the way north. Whatever. I love the renderings. I think it looks great. I am intrigued by it. I don't know how realistic it all is. With that said, best ballpark I've been to. People rave about Pittsburgh's. I haven't been to Pittsburgh's. I've been to a game there. I've seen it, but I haven't been to it. The best one from my standpoint, San Francisco's.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
You've gone to a game there?
Nope. Been outside the stadium. Been outside of both. I think that's Oracle Park now, and Candlestick, where the Niners used to play. So been right outside both.
I went to a baseball game there. I went to a lot of Rams 49ers. There were probably like 3 games there.
But right there on the Bay, and I've been outspoken about how much I enjoy the Bay Area, and so that would be right up there for me if I had like a dream list to go to. I haven't been to many stadiums. I went to Shea Stadium when the Mets still played there.
Considered, when it was alive, one of the worst.
It was pretty crummy. I think we're pretty spoiled here in terms of both Busch 2. If most people probably who listen right now have been to Busch 2 and Busch 3, both really, really good stadiums. But I understand that people like Busch 2 more than Busch 3.
I think whatever one you grew up, so Busch 2 will always be my favorite. But, I recognize the nostalgia bias is what I'll call it, Jackson. I'm trying to think of other ballparks that stand out to me. Been to Fenway. That's just unique.
I think part of it is like what's special about a ballpark. Sometimes it's just the history of it, and you can't manufacture that.
Right, and of course, Wrigley in that same category. I'll tell you this. Players rave about Busch Stadium. Yeah. Not just guys locally who are trying to get rid of the local reporters with we love the fans, the ballpark's great, Sea of Red, the Clydesdales. Okay, are we done? You'll hear that coming up in a month. But they really love the ballpark and appreciate like the skyline in the background. What was the final question on what makes a ballpark? What was it?
Yeah, what makes it special to you? Like what's something that like makes it special? I don't know if there's one element.
For example, like if the Rangers go on a Yankees like run, and I'm talking about 90s Yankees run, I don't think they will, but who knows? I don't think I'll go, oh wow, Globe Life, history. It just looks like where the Rams used to run around with Tavon Austin in the backfield to me. Yeah, I know it's a baseball stadium and it's new, but it looks awful.
It does.
Now, people I haven't been to it say, oh, it's really nice. Okay, I don't know. It's just on television. It kind of, like the Rays thing is a travesty.
Yeah.
A lot of the Rays issue, though, is not just the ballpark. It's where it is in that area. I don't know. I mean, the honest answer is atmosphere. I mean, you could be in what's a dreadful ballpark, like where the Marlins play.
Been there.
Yeah, you've actually gone to a game there?
I have. It felt like a minor league baseball game.
It's just, the people of Miami just got hoodwinked on that.
Yeah.
I hate the Astros park.
Minute Maid, yeah.
But I went to a lot of Cardinals-Astros playoff games there, both in 04 and 05. And while I hate the park, the atmosphere is so intense that that's what creates it.
Yeah, it's a unique park for sure.
So to me, a lot of it's about atmosphere. One of my favorite sporting events I've been to that I know I've referenced is Missouri against KU to be #1 in college football. And it's so great that was at Arrowhead because that's an incredible football stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like it wouldn't have been as great if it were at the Dome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I'm not even talking about the thing now with the carpet burns. I'm talking about the whenever you think it was good, if you did. But, like even in 2007. But Arrowhead's a world-class American football stadium.
Yeah. I think
that can add to it. But still, if you have two teams going heads up with a lot on the line, a packed ballpark, show me the worst, like Oakland Coliseum, and you're going to feel it. I mean, one of the most famous plays of the 21st century took place at Oakland Coliseum. I think it's a little overrated, but either way, the Derek Jeter flip.
Off, yeah.
Right. So, I think the ballpark is more a byproduct of the fans, and therefore it's a byproduct of the teams playing important games.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also agree that the Jeter thing is overrated.
Oh,
because it comes flying out of nowhere, it makes a big deal. But I mean,
like if that were Caesar as tourist, would we hear that much about it?
Shout out to Caesar as tourist.
Well,
man.
I mean, I think it was time we got to him at 10:59. Time for us to go. BK and Ferrari are up next for Jackson Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. Have a wonderful weekend. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.